Shohei Ohtani won another award. The playoffs are finally set. And how are the Dodgers going to spend their week off? We'll get into that. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. And you can make that easy on yourself by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here on Monday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snyder. And we've been doing this podcast here for 6 seasons now. We've been doing a Dodger podcast together a little bit longer than that. And we've both been covering the Dodgers for a decade now in various capacities, talking about the team, writing about the team, being in the press box, being in the locker room, all that type of stuff. So a lot of Dodger experience, a lot of Dodger knowledge, a lot of Dodger games watched. And for now, we won't have any Dodger games to watch until Saturday, but we do know we know now who they might play, which is the winner of the Padres and the Braves after the Braves and Mets split the series on Monday. We'll talk about that and kind of how crazy the game was and all the different intricacies of that. But the one Dodger bit of news we did get is that Shohei Ohtani, for the second week in a row, has finished as Player of the Week. And even though it didn't culminate in him securing the Triple Crown in the National League, still another accomplishment. He hit 500 again. He had a bunch of homers. He had stolen bases. I think I read he's the first player in the NL since Manny Machado in 2020 to do back-to-back Player of the Week award. So that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers for Ohtani over the last 2 weeks, and it's just ridiculous. And you're hoping that means he knows October is getting here and he's going to show out the rest of the month.
Yeah, hopefully it was the beginning of a long hot streak that hopefully lasts, the next 9+ years, but at least another month. Give us that, and hopefully it rubs off on some of the others. I feel like there's a different Shohei Ohtani nugget every day, and I know non-Dodger fans have Ohtani fatigue, and I guess I get that, but for me, it truly is remarkable when you think about. I was looking up today when MLB tweeted out the stolen base leaders, and I realized Shohei ended up only 8 stolen bases behind Elly De La Cruz, and there was talk early in the season that Ellie's going to get 100 stolen bases, and he didn't get anywhere close to there. But the fact that Shohei ended up only 8 behind him, so I looked it up. I made a graph a while back of all of Ohtani's homers and stolen bases and how the season went day by day, and he had a pretty big lead, homers over stolen bases, for a long time, and then he kind of went on a stolen base streak, and I was like, I wonder how that compares to De La Cruz. So I looked, and kind of the crossing point I found back after July 3rd, after those games, Shohei had 16 stolen bases on the season, and De La Cruz had 41. So he was up by 25. From that point, just starting July 4th to the end of the season. So basically the second half of the season, the last 3 months or so of the season, Shohei had 43 stolen bases and was caught stealing twice. Elly had 26 stolen bases, caught stealing 9 times. So that's how Shohei closed the gap, outstole him by 17 bases in those last 3 months of the season, which is crazy because Elly De La Cruz is crazy fast, crazy good base stealer, just everything about it. And the fact that Shohei I'm a really good pitcher, I'm a really good hitter, and by the way, I'm also the best base stealer in baseball. Just crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it might be something we tend to enjoy. Like, hopefully you enjoyed it this year. If he goes back full-time into pitching, I don't know if he'll be stealing at will like he was this year, but who knows? With Ohtani, you never really know what you're going to get with him. He's continued to impress in various ways, and hopefully again, and this October is one of those ways he continues to impress. But yeah, for everything that came with Ohtani at the start of the season, and even though it wasn't bad, but maybe people had higher expectations for him, and maybe it didn't reach all those expectations in different areas. For him to finish the season the way he did, it just kind of wrapped up an entire season and stuff not only Dodger fans have never seen before, but MLB, baseball fans have never seen before in a few different ways. So it was, all fun, and we enjoyed it. And it's been a pleasure to watch them, and to think about that this is just year one of 10 years is definitely more exciting. But, there's bigger things right now, but we have a lot of days to talk about those bigger things, so we can sit back and, look back at what Ohtani's done the last 2 weeks, the last 2 months, the last 6 months, and really be proud and excited and ready to see more.
Yeah, and this comment by John in the chat that it was after Betts got injured that Shohei's stolen bases skyrocketed. Everything skyrocketed for Shohei after Betts got hurt. You remember last year, 2023, it feels like forever ago, Mookie Betts became the first leadoff hitter ever to drive in 100 runs. Shohei almost drove in 100 runs this year as a leadoff hitter, despite not being a leadoff hitter for the first, almost half of the season. Shohei batted leadoff 90 times this year and drove in 84 runs in those games and scored 81. That's a pace of 151 RBIs and 146 runs scored over a full season. And just crazy numbers for a leadoff hitter. I mean, he also hit 35 home runs in those 90 games, which is what's 35 times 1.8. That's a 63 home run pace as a leadoff hitter. Just, yeah, I mean, and I don't know how much of it has to do with him batting leadoff and how much of it is just he got settled. That's the hard thing with Ohtani, because the beginning of the season was so weird. There's the pressure of the big contract. There's all of the off-field stuff. There's, oh yeah, he's also a newlywed. Like all those things, maybe it just took him a couple months to fully get settled in and really get comfortable. Or maybe it was batting leadoff that he likes more. Either way, don't mess with a good thing. Obviously, it worked well for the Dodgers and for him. But yeah, like it's just, even though we talk about how it's not going to happen again, when he's pitching, he's not going to be able to be that adventurous on the base paths. He's going to have his focus split. I also think there's part of me that thinks, well, why would we doubt him after we've seen, like, as excited as we were in early December last year when Shohei Ohtani decided to sign with the Dodgers? I don't think either of us would have ever guessed that he would be this good this year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the stolen bases offensively, you could have seen it for sure. He definitely cleared some of his previous career highs with the Dodgers this year and having a full year focused on hitting. But yeah, it's just a different element. And then you add in the fact that, he did get better runners in scoring position. He did get better late, or he did stay good late in games for the most part. He did have, clutch hits there. And in the biggest games the Dodgers have played so far this season, Ohtani had the big hits and put the Dodgers ahead or tied it up or whatever the case was. And yeah, to see the excitement, the emotion, like just everything that came with it, what was, fun to watch. And I've said on this podcast here before, this season and the off season, like working in baseball and then doing this, a Dodger podcast every day. And, you get a little jaded as a Dodger fan because, you're going to, like, it's basically like, you're going to go to the postseason, you're going to enjoy the regular season, but you still have the October looming and it loses its luster maybe a little bit in the sense of, oh yeah, the Dodgers won the division again, or oh yeah, the Dodgers can play a spot again. But this year we had something new to that realm, and they've had new things in the past, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, different things, but Shohei Ohtani is just a little different in that regard. And it's one of those things that it reinvigorated me a little bit as a Dodger fan, in the sense of I get excited to watch the Dodgers, even if it's a Tuesday game against the Marlins or, whatever the case is. And now heading into October, like it's a little bit, I don't know if I have full confidence in the Dodger offense, but I feel a little bit better maybe than I did in years past.
Yeah. And I sometimes, I try to sneak in a nap after church on Sundays. And this Dodger game this past Sunday started a little bit earlier because it was the last day of the season. So there wasn't time for my nap. And my wife said, yeah, but the game doesn't matter, right? And I said, no, but Shohei Ohtani is going to bat 4 or 5 times. So I'm not taking a nap. And that's what Ohtani does. Our buddy Joe Holt was watching today's Mets-Braves games on ESPN. And after Francisco Lindor had his big home run in game 1, apparently during game 2, they were talking up Lindor for MVP again, which is just crazy because, like, how short did your memory have to be? Because it was just, 5 days ago that Shohei Ohtani on back-to-back days against one of the best teams in baseball drove in the go-ahead run 3 times in 2 games to win the division, not to tie 2 other teams and get in as a wild card because of a tiebreaker, but to secure the best record in baseball. Like, even if you're going by single game performances, oh, that's a big game performance. Doesn't get more big game than what Shohei did the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So we appreciate Shohei. I'm sure there'll be more than enough things to continue to talk about as his career goes on with the Dodgers. But now we're going to talk about the postseason. The field is set. The Braves are in. The Mets are in. What seeds are they? Who's playing who? How did they get there? And the returning NL champs are not in the playoffs, as well as the returning champion. So it's a little bit different. We'll have new champs all over the place. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, it is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players and their stat projections for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is, I've said it before and I'll continue to say, I love Prize Picks. It gives you extra incentive to watch games if you need that extra incentive. It gives you incentive to pay attention and check on your things and see if you're going to win some money, or just an excuse to put down $5 and see if you can turn it into 100 something. So that's what I like to do on Prize Picks. I'm small bets, big outcomes, and then every so often I'll go down and look at some for sure wins and try to get the money built up for the bankroll. So there's different ways to do the Prize Picks, but it's all right there on the Prize Picks app. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy too. So if guys get hurt, especially in the NFL, they got you covered. So make sure to get the Prize Picks app, download it, sign up, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. All you got to do is put down $5, guaranteed $50 bonus there, right there. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discount select player projections up to 25%. Discount select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So go download the Prize Picks app. Prize Picks, run your game. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, or your last listen, or whatever listen we are of your day. We appreciate you. If you need another listen in your day, you can check out the Locked On MLB podcast with our pal Sully. He's getting ready for October just like we are, but he'll cover all the teams, where we just normally cover the Dodgers and whatever comes with the Dodgers. You can also check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Once the Dodgers start picking back up, Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox will be available after most Dodger games live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. All right, Jeff. So there was 2 games to be played on Monday. It was a matter of if one team swept, they were in along with the Diamondbacks. If the team split, they both were in, and it made for compelling television for the first game, where it was really like all stakes. Every team, each team really, really, really wanted to win. Once you got to the second game, maybe not so much. The Mets were more worried about preserving arms and everything else. But that first game was 3-0 going into the 8th inning, and it ended 8-7 or 9-8, one of those. It was 6 runs by the Mets in the top of the 8th. It was 4 runs by the Braves in the bottom of the 8th, and then it was 2 more runs off the bat of Francisco Lindor with a homer in the top of the 9th, and the Mets closed it out, and they secured their spot in the playoffs. And then the second game, they called up Joey Lucchesi. He pitched, and they didn't have their full lineup in and everything else. The Braves ended up winning, and the Braves secured the 5 seed. So for the Dodgers' sake, they will play the winner of the Padres and the Braves. The Braves were supposed to use Chris Sale in a situation where their season was on the line, which would have been game 2 on Monday. Then we found out that he had back spasms and he wasn't going to pitch in that game. And some people thought maybe, well, the Mets are probably going to go that hard, so we can maybe try to get by without Sale and have Sale ready for a potential playoff series. If you did think that, we don't know yet. Brian Snitker said that he didn't believe that they were going to have Chris Sale for this upcoming series. But, he did say that he woke up and it didn't feel good, and he's been managing it all season. So I guess that'll remain to be seen. But Yeah, Jeff, I don't know. There's different ways we can go about this, but I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, there's a ton to talk about. First of all, I want to pop up a picture of the win probability chart for that first game. You've got, going along, and then, the Braves took the lead here in the, what's that, the third inning, in the third inning. So the win probability swings highly towards the Braves, and then, all the way. So we're at like over 90% win probability for the Braves heading into the top of the eighth. By the end of the top of the eighth, it's well over 90% win probability for the Mets. By the end of the bottom of the eighth, it's back down close to 90% for the Braves, and then the Mets end up winning. Just crazy game, and yeah, the Chris Sale thing, it's wild, because now they're saying he's not going to play in the wild card series, which. It was kind of a swing for us because as Dodger fans, like I talked about yesterday, we're kind of thinking, okay, if the Braves win the first game, then they don't have to throw Chris Sale in the second game, which means Sale can pitch against the Padres, which makes him not available for game one against the Dodgers if they get to there. So we're kind of rooting, okay, Braves win the first game and get this over with. And then I decided during that top of the eighth, when the Mets were rallying, scoring 6 runs to go from down 3-0 to up 6-3, I decided, okay, if the Mets win this one, then I am rooting for the Mets in game 2 too, because if Chris Sale can't pitch against the Padres anyway, that means if they do win, he's ready for game 1 against the Dodgers, and I didn't want that. And so, and then they announced, Chris Sale is hurt, so he's not pitching this game. So I'm like, okay, I'm back to rooting for the Braves in the second game so that, again, Sale can pitch against the Padres. And then the Braves win, and now they say Sale's not going to pitch against the Padres, so does that mean he's not going to pitch at all this postseason, or that he will be ready to go for game 1 against the Dodgers? And it could go either way. Although, I mean, if he wasn't available to pitch in a win or go home game today, and he's not available to pitch in an actual postseason series where if you don't win the series, your season is done, it seems like it's got to be bad enough that it's going to keep him out the whole postseason, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, unless it really is a day-to-day thing, like, hey, I woke up today, my back didn't feel good, but can you really head into a series, with him on your roster, and then he wakes up, Saturday morning and he's not ready to go, like, or whatever morning it is in terms of when he pitches? So yeah, it sucks. But if you look at it, like, he hadn't really pitched too much since September 19th, I believe. He had lost a little bit of velocity in his last start against the Reds. So the writing was kind of there on the wall, and then now they said he's been dealing with it all season, that he knows how to handle it, blah, 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 whatever. At this point, it just kind of feels like, well, yeah, you're probably not going to have Chris Sale. And if you do get Chris Sale back, maybe it's toward the end of the month, but maybe you don't get there without him. Regardless, it was one of those where, someone asked me, wouldn't you want Chris Sale to face, like, wouldn't you rather face the Braves? And at this point, there's no team I'd rather face between Padres and Braves. There's a team I know I'd hate to lose more against. But other than that, like, the only rooting interest I have in this series is for the series to go 3 games, because then the Padres or Braves use their 3 next best pitchers that they have, and none of those guys would be able to start game 1, which is what happened in 2022 when the Dodgers got to face, Mike Clevenger in that first game, and they ended up winning that game. Fortunately, they weren't able to win the other games, but, put yourself in the best position, knowing that, we can talk, you talked a little bit about it yesterday, and we've talked about it in the past of, why is there off days when you're a team at a disadvantage. But regardless of that, the only advantage, or the main advantage the Dodgers can get from this series, is for it to go 3 games.
Yeah, and the MLB postseason, it's wonky. I decided today, I think it's not just, because I talked yesterday a little bit about how the top 2 seeds don't get enough of an advantage because they have so many days off. And so, I mean, last year the Dodgers still had to face Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen in the first 2 games of the division series. And it's like, okay, well, what was the point of getting the bye then if they still get to throw their 2 best pitchers? And I decided today that it's not just that Major League Baseball doesn't do a good enough job giving the advantage to the better teams. I think it's that they actively don't want it. I think they don't want the best teams to have a better chance at winning the World Series. And as fans, that feels backwards because, the World Series, it should be, let's see who the best team in baseball was. And really it's, let's see who had the best 3-week period in October. And sometimes that's the same thing, but 75% of the time it's not. And I understand why they do it, because like the crazy thing is, like, until 5 hours ago or whatever, Vince, the Diamondbacks had just as good a chance of winning the World Series as the Dodgers, basically. Like, if they get in, okay, anything can happen. We saw it last year. Like, a lousy Rangers team won the World Series last year because they got hot at the right time. And now, where are they? Oh, they're watching the playoffs from home, because turns out they were a kind of bad team that got hot at the right time last year. I think they finished tied last year for the last wild card spot, didn't they? Just like the D-backs this year. The difference is the Rangers had the tiebreaker last year. I feel like the Rangers.
Well, they tied with the Astros.
The Rangers and I thought the Rangers. Oh, they were both a game ahead of the Mariners. That's right. And so tied. So the Rangers were a wild card team because of the tiebreaker. Yeah. But yeah, they were only a game ahead of the Mariners, who didn't make the playoffs. And now we've got the 5 seed, the 6 seed, and the D-backs who were watching from home all had the exact same record this year. And it's just like, I don't know, it's wild. And we just, as baseball fans, I think we just need to kind of embrace the stupidity. And for me, I just recognize, okay, and that's kind of why I know I'm rambling here. That's why I kind of force myself to enjoy the regular season, because the postseason doesn't determine who's the best team. The Dodgers already proved over the last 162 games, they're the best team in baseball. Now, hopefully that will translate to winning a World Series this year. But for me, it's like two separate things. It's like, okay, we had a great 6-month season. That was a lot of fun, really enjoyed it. And now, totally separately, now we have a really stressful up to 4-week tournament to see who wins the tournament. And both of them have value. And obviously, you get a parade for winning the tournament. And so that's what I want the Dodgers to do. But Major League Baseball is not interested in the best team winning the World Series.
Yeah, or at least not incentivizing the teams to be the best over the course of the season. But, regardless, the Dodgers got to get the job done, and they're going to do something different this year than they've done in years past. So we'll talk about their plan for this week. And, if that's going to work out, we don't know, but we'll talk about it. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's one $5 bet, and you get $200 in bonus bets. If you want something to put that $5 on, the Dodgers are currently the favorites to win the World Series in 2024 at plus 350. But those are some still good odds. You'll still win some money there if you put down the $5. And hey, even if you don't win, you still get the $500 or $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So make sure to go check that out. Go to FanDuel.com to download the app, check out all the odds, and see anything you need to see. So go check out FanDuel today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Live events are great, whether it's sports or concerts or theater or whatever the case is. It's nice to get out and go see other people perform. And Game Time is here to help you out. And they have introduced something new to help you out even more with Game Time Picks. It's a new feature that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier, because it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. What else does Game Time have to help you out? Well, they got the all-in pricing, so you don't have to see you don't have to see what it's going to be with fees. They already give you the price with fees and everything included. You can check out seat views from most venues and see what your seat is going to look like. They got the lowest price guarantee, where if you find tickets in the same section and row as the seats you already got from Game Time, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. And Game Time ticket coverage, where they have the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So there's more than one reason to check out the Game Time app. So go download the app right now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one an everydayer, it's just someone that listens or watches every day. As we head into October, it's probably a good time to be an everydayer. You can stay up to date, or get your Dodger fix, even if the Dodgers aren't playing that day. If you're not an everydayer, we appreciate if you added 1 or 2 episodes to your week, and get your way up to an everydayer. We appreciate that a lot. And remember, you can go beyond the podcast, come a Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers, the text-based service where you get text from us with all the biggest news and stories and updates and thoughts about the Dodgers as we move forward. We're online for you, so you don't have to be. So make sure to go to download or check out that by going to joinsubtext.com/locked-on-Dodgers. All right, Jeff. So the Dodgers have 5 days off, Monday through Friday, and they've had this off the last 2 years, and they've lost the last 2 years in the first round, winning the combined one game. So they're going to do something a little bit different this year. Max Muncy talked a little bit about it and how really the only team that's figured it out in these 2 years is Astros, because they've won series both times, I believe, with the bye, and now they won't have the bye this year. So we'll see how that works out for them. But the Dodgers had Monday off, other than Jack Flaherty, who was going to throw to some minor league hitters. Tuesday is an optional workout, which in the past has been a mandatory workout. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they'll have mandatory workouts. But instead of facing each other, like, in years past, they'd have, Blake Treinen versus, Max Muncy, or Michael Kopech against Mookie Betts, or whatever the case is. This year, they're basically going to face each other in inter-squad games where the playoff team is going to be one team, and then all the other arms and bats that they have are going to be the other team, just because they felt maybe some guys are a little bit uncomfortable pitching against their own teammates, or, maybe fear of, you can't pitch inside if you feel like you might. There's different ways to go about it. The other guys might feel that too, but they'll be a little bit less inclined to feel that, I would imagine. But yeah, other than and beyond that, the Dodgers are going to have watch parties where they're going to, sit around and together wherever they're at and watch the games of the teams that they're maybe going to play against. I know that was set up by Rojas and a couple other guys. So at the very least, there is no rhyme or reason yet that they found. So they're going to keep moving things around. But yeah, that's what they have on tap for now. Do we think it's enough of a change?
Yeah, you know what? It really is trial and error. I don't think we or they have any idea how much the layoff actually affected them, because we've also seen the Dodgers struggle in postseason series when they didn't have a layoff. And so maybe it was that. I've said many times, I think 2 years is way too small a sample size to say that for sure. And I also think this year, more than any year, they absolutely wanted and needed this first round bye, because even before Freddie Freeman got hurt, you've got an overworked bullpen. You've got pitchers still coming back from injury. Yamamoto's still getting built up, all those things. So they definitely needed this bye. And the fact is, half of the teams playing on Tuesday won't make it to the division series. And so the Dodgers already have a better chance than half of those teams. And then you go from there. So yeah, I like this approach. The idea of not having the hitters who are going to be on the postseason roster face pitchers who are going to be postseason roster, I think makes sense psychologically, if nothing else, just because, you think about an intra-squad game that you're watching, like every time Shohei Ohtani hits a home run, that means one of your pitchers gave up a home run. And this way it's like, and so, everything is it's a zero balance, a zero sum game at that point. Whereas now, hey, look, our postseason team dominated on the pitching side and dominated on the hitting side. That's good news, and so I think from a psychological standpoint, that could be a good thing. I guess it'll also kind of
assuming they do dominate.
Yeah. I think it'll also give us a little bit of an idea of what they're thinking roster wise, but we'll probably talk in the next day or two about the roster, because there's still a lot of questions in the bullpen. For example, there's some questions on the position player side thing. I think the starting rotation is the only thing we know for sure. At least 2 of the 4 people are. We may not know for sure what the order is, although we could probably get a pretty good guess. But bullpen and position player, there's still some questions. So that'll all be interesting to see. And the fact is, like I said, we've seen guys have layoffs and then hit just fine. There's nothing about taking 5 days off that says, oh, you're not going to be able to hit. We saw Freddie Freeman take 8 or 9 days off when Max was sick, and he came back and he hit just fine. And then we also saw Freddie struggle without a break. And so, I think we as fans are often way too quick to assume that correlation and causation are the same thing in some regards.
Yeah. The other thing that's been interesting about Roberts the last week or so, getting into the Padres series and beyond, is his talk about mindset and his talk about intensity. And he said, quote, there has to be the ultimate sense of urgency. And I just don't think that has much correlation to the work prior. It's an overall team mindset that I just want to make sure we're going to have we have going into this postseason. I know another quote, or not a quote, but another thing he said was basically if you're not coming off the field feeling like you're drained, you're not leaving it all on the field. And, that's the kind of intensity every playoff game is going to take. And I think, maybe him overcompensating just for the simple fact of, how they've lost the last couple of years to maybe teams that seem to be having more fun. Obviously, it's a lot more fun when you're winning, but, also a matter of just the way the Dodgers, have played. I guess it is a different intensity, and, it does look, you can't treat the playoffs like the regular season, regardless of how much you want it to be everything the same and everything good. And, I saw someone like, oh, they treat games in April the same way they do in September. Was like, well, if they treated games in April the same way they did in September, they'd win a lot more games late in the season and in October because they usually play good during the regular season. So it is a little bit different, but yeah, just I don't know if there's anything Roberts will do specifically to build that up. We saw against the Padres, like, I don't think they changed too much, but obviously the other two games they were winning and they scored more runs, and they didn't do anything over the top. They just did whatever their normal celebrations are. So we'll see if anything changes there, but I definitely think it's more of a live and die with every pitch, like as fans do. Like, I think players can kind of live that way in the moment, and I don't think it hurts them.
It doesn't hurt anything. I do think some of that is definitely lip service that Dave Roberts is paying to fans or media, or saying what they want to hear. Because the fact is, in 2020, the Padres were more fired up than the Dodgers, and the Dodgers swept them. And in 2021, the Padres were more fired up than the Dodgers, and the Padres watched the postseason from home. 2022, the Padres were more fired up, and they beat the Dodgers. But, the fact is, like, I don't know. I just, hit the ball. I don't care if you do it with intensity or not. I think there's a weird obsession with, you got to want it more than the other team. And I just wonder what would happen if two teams showed up wanting it exactly the same amount. I think we saw that in Game 3 of the 2018 World Series. It was really close. They wanted it almost exactly the same amount, and the game almost lasted forever. It took 7.5 hours to decide because the teams wanted it exactly the same amount. It had nothing to do with baseball ability or hitting the ball. It was all about desire and passion, or just play better baseball. You know what? And so I don't care if they look sad the whole time that they're hitting doubles and homers, as long as they hit the doubles and homers. And I personally don't have never seen any evidence that they're more likely to hit the doubles and homers if they're, fired up and passionate and blah, blah. But, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've noticed the last couple of years is, like, it's been the first early rounds, obviously, is that, the fans aren't as, like, I've been spoiled to be able to go to a lot of postseason games the last couple of years. And, Phillies fans, they hadn't been in the postseason for a while. They came back, and, it's intense. Even San Diego was very intense in 2022, not only for the Dodgers series, but also for the NLCS. I think, the fans can play a part of it too. They have to bring energy as well. And not that the team's going to play better, but I do think, that there's a little bit of psychological advantage when, there's a raucous crowd and the other team has to worry about, like, maybe them getting nervous or whatever the case is. Again, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to who pitches better, who hits better, and, who fields better. But I think as someone, goes about their day or plays a game, there are little things here and there that can give you maybe a little bit slight boost or whatever the case is. And if you can take advantage of all that and have it all, then, why not try it?
Yeah, last week, Alden Gonzalez tweeted out that Dodgers have been flat for the last month. Well, they've scored 8.5 runs a game during that time, so stay flat. And during the game on September 26th, somebody tweeted at me, some Dodger players appear very casual tonight. No urgency. On Jackson Merrill's sack bunt, they had a force to third, but nobody was telling Phillips to go there. Just, complaining at lack of urgency. Then the Dodgers scored 7 runs in 2 innings and clinched the division. You know what? Play good. I don't care if you're urgent or excited or not.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back here all week talking playoff roster, talking Game 1 of the wild card series, and anything else that comes up with the Dodgers. It'll be an optional workout tomorrow. Maybe we'll have some player quotes or, Matt or Dave Roberts speaks or whatever the case, but we'll wait and see on all that. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers throughout your whole week. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. You can subscribe to make it easier to know when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here right now. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. You can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us with any news, thoughts, rumors, etc. throughout the whole entire year. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at SnyDog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, touch my device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.